This video is a message for people who are going through turbulent times in Europe. We hope that you brothers in Europe can deal with what you are going through there in the best possible way. So, let's go to the video. The Stoics taught that it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but the judgment we make of them. True freedom is not in controlling the world, but in controlling our mind. Have you ever noticed how often it's not what happens that takes away our peace, but the way we react? How many times have you let yourself be dominated by something external and then regretted the reaction? Today, let's dive into 3 principles of Stoicism that can transform your ability to remain calm in the face of any challenge. 3 pillars that, if practiced, shape an unshakable, serene, strong mind. If you want to live above your circumstances, like a true Stoic, pay attention. Because what you'll learn here could forever change the way you face life's ups and downs. First principle, master your perceptions. Have you ever stopped to think that most of the pain we feel doesn't come from the world, but from the way we interpret the world? This was one of the great revolutions in Stoic thought. While most struggle with what happens outside, trying to control people, events, circumstances, the Stoics understood that the real battlefield is internal. And that peace, serenity, and strength do not depend on what happens, but on what we choose to think about what happens. Epictetus, one of the greatest masters of Stoicism, said, "It is not the events themselves that disturb men, but the opinion they form about the events." This simple statement, if truly lived, is capable of completely changing the way you experience life. Imagine 2 navigators on the high seas. They both face the same storm, the same strong wind, the same threatening waves. One despairs and gets lost in the waters, cursing luck and destiny. The other, keeping his mind lucid, adjusts the sails, reads the sea, and goes through the storm steadily. What differentiates them is not the storm, it is the perception. In everyday life, the same logic applies. Criticism received can be interpreted as a personal humiliation or as an opportunity for growth. A financial loss can be seen as an irreversible tragedy, or as an invitation to strengthen resilience and find new paths. The end of a relationship can be interpreted as a ruin, or as an inner rebirth. The difference will always be in the interpretation, and not in the event itself. Stoicism invites us then to train our mind to master these first impressions, what they called fantasy. These impressions are automatic, impulsive, but the Stoic does not surrender to them blindly. He examines them. The process is as follows. The external event appears. An automatic printout appears. Fear, anger, anxiety. The wise man pauses, rationally examines the print. Consciously decide how you will respond. This pause is key. It is in this interval between stimulus and response that true human freedom lies. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote to himself in his diary, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your assessment of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any time." Notice what he is saying. You don't need to change the world to change your internal state. You need to change your assessment, your judgment, your perception. When faced with difficult situations, we have 2 options for perception. See the event as a threat. See the event as a challenge. He who sees a threat activates his survival mind, fear, paralysis, irrational aggression. Anyone who sees a challenge activates their rational mind, focus, strategy, desire to overcome. The Stoics always sought to see each adversity as a training of the soul, a chance to strengthen yourself, to practice virtues such as courage, patience, temperance. There is no obstacle that cannot be converted into moral training. If we truly want to incorporate this first Stoic principle into our daily lives, we need to create the habit of asking, in the face of any difficulty, what does this event really mean? Am I judging this event with fear or with wisdom? How can I see this as an opportunity to practice virtue? Imagine the following scene. You miss an important project at work. Automatically, the impression arises, I am a failure. But the Stoic gaze intervenes and questions, does this define who I am? Or is it just one more situation among many that I can use to become more resilient, more attentive, wiser? Or else, someone offends you with unfair words. The common mind wants to react with anger, revenge, resentment. But the Stoic mind remembers, their words say more about them than about me. My integrity cannot be touched by external insults. You don't control what they do to you. But it controls what you do with yourself. Mastering perceptions is taking on radical responsibility. Everything I feel is ultimately my responsibility, not from the other, not from the situation, not from the government, not from destiny, my. That's not a comfortable message. It's much easier to blame others, but it is the only true path to inner freedom. If you surrender your emotions to external events, you are a slave to chance. If you master your interpretation of events, you are sovereign over yourself. Second principle, accept what you cannot control. If there is one maxim that echoes across all lines of Stoic philosophy, it is this: don't waste energy trying to change what is not in your power. The world is in constant movement, unpredictable, indifferent to our desires. The universe does not bend to individual wills, nor does it organize events to satisfy our expectations. Reality happens. And what differentiates the wise from the ignorant is not what happens to them, but the way they position themselves in the face of the inevitable. Epictetus warns us, some things depend on us, others don't. Happiness lies in distinguishing one from the other and focusing only on what depends on us. This distinction is the basis of inner freedom. Human suffering, for the most part, arises from the futile effort of trying to control the uncontrollable, of resisting the natural course of things as if we could change the river simply by shouting against the current. The true Stoic understands, the quicker we accept what is outside our control, the quicker we can focus on what can actually be transformed, ourselves. Acceptance in Stoicism is not passive resignation. It's not giving up. It is, rather, an active attitude of recognizing the limits of our influence, saving emotional and mental energy to invest in what we can govern, our judgments, our actions, our values. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote in his nocturnal meditations, "Receive without arrogance, lose without resistance." These words are more than advice. They are a philosophy of life. Every time something unwanted happens, a loss, an injustice, a crisis, our automatic impulse is to mentally resist. We create in our minds an ideal of how things should be, and we suffer because the world dared not live up to that ideal. This gap between expectation and reality is the true origin of anguish. When we internally say, this shouldn't have happened, this isn't fair, this isn't right, we generate within ourselves a tension, a friction that doesn't exist in reality itself, only in our interpretation of it. Reality simply is. The wise man does not fight against what he is. He adjusts his sails to the direction of the winds. Accepting what cannot be changed requires the ability to clearly discern between what is in my control, my opinions, my values, my actions, what is out of my control, other people's actions, external results, past, death, illness, fortune. This distinction, simple in theory, is a daily practice that requires vigilance and discipline. Faced with an offense, for example, I can try to change the offender's mind, but that is not within my jurisdiction. What is in my control is my response. I can choose dignity over anger. Faced with the death of someone I love, I cannot change the fact of the loss. What is in my hands is how I honor this life and reframe the pain into love and gratitude. In the face of financial ruin, I cannot reverse the past, but I can rebuild the present with courage and wisdom. Every situation in life offers this moment of bifurcation. Resist and suffer, or accept and act on what depends on me. Many confuse resistance with bravery. Popular culture celebrates heroes who fight against everything and everyone, as if it were possible to overcome the uncontrollable flow of existence through sheer force of will. Stoicism teaches the opposite. True courage lies in accepting with serenity what destiny brings, without internally bending, without becoming corrupted in the face of adversity. The Stoic hero is not one who fights uselessly against what he cannot overcome, but one who adapts with dignity, remaining true to his rational and virtuous nature even when circumstances are cruel. Accepting does not mean approving. Acceptance means recognizing reality as it is, without creating mental stories that increase suffering. Practicing acceptance is observe what happened without automatic emotional judgment. Quickly recognize what is out of your control. Immediately shift your attention to what you can do now. Act with virtue regardless of the scenario. This daily practice generates a peace that does not depend on external circumstances. A solid, silent, almost indestructible peace. Epictetus used a powerful metaphor. We are like dogs tied to a moving cart. If we try to resist, we will be dragged away. If we follow the movement, we will walk with dignity. That's life. The cart of existence continues on its way, indifferent to our preferences. The choice is clear: resist and suffer, or accompany with intelligence and balance. Accepting what we cannot control is not surrendering. It is cooperating with reality to be able to better navigate it. Acceptance for the Stoic is not a weakness. It is the manifestation of the highest form of strength, the strength of the mind that does not deceive itself, that does not run away, that does not demand that the universe be different so that it can be at peace. Accepting what cannot be changed is an art that transforms tragedies into lessons, defeats at starting points, endings in new beginnings. While the reckless waste their lives cursing events, the Stoic uses each event as clay to mold his own character. Because ultimately life isn't what happens to us, it's what we make of what happens to us. Accept life, accept reality, and thus become invincible. But there is a catch. If you've been trying for a long time to get out of conformity and ignorance and you can't do it in any way, maybe it's for other reasons that you don't know what's causing this. But I know what it is. It's anxiety. Anxiety comes like a silent snake and poisons you without you feeling it. This leaves you infected for days, months, and even years. And if you have that, it would be like living sick. However, there is an antidote from the Stoics, which together with modern psychology can free you from all this, just as it freed me. I made a video showing how you can get rid of this poison in your life. It's in the first comment. Click on the link in the first comment and cure yourself of this poison of anxiety. Third principle, grow to overcome challenges. In Stoic philosophy, the greatness of human beings does not lie in avoiding difficulties, but in becoming greater than them. The Stoics did not seek an existence free from trials. On the contrary, they saw each obstacle as an instrument for forging character, like the fire that tests gold and reveals its purity. Seneca, the Roman sage, declared, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, just as hard work strengthens the body." This view completely reverses the way most people view suffering and challenges. The Stoic does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks, "What kind of man or woman do I need to become to get through this?" This reversal of perspective is fundamental, because the real tragedy of life is not in encountering difficulties. The real tragedy is encountering difficulties and remaining small in the face of them. It is common to think that the severity of our problems determines the level of our suffering, but Stoicism teaches that it is not the problem that defines our internal state. It is our dimension in front of it. If you are a small person, fragile, unstable, emotionally vulnerable, any challenge will seem monstrous. But if you become great in spirit, solid in virtue, firm in purpose, what once seemed unbearable now becomes manageable, even insignificant. Imagine someone with a fragile mind facing a financial loss. For that person, the event will be devastating. Now imagine someone trained, hardened by experience and philosophy. For that person, The same loss will be just another stone on the path, another step along the great road of life. The size of the obstacle is relative to the size of the person facing it. The Stoics propose that we should voluntarily expose ourselves to uncomfortable situations to strengthen the spirit. Epictetus suggested practices such as walking in the cold without complaining, eat frugally even if you have access to banquets, refuse unnecessary luxuries to train the mind not to depend on them, visualize losses before they happen to be emotionally prepared. These exercises were not intended to cause gratuitous suffering. They had the purpose of building resilience, the ability to remain intact in the face of the unpredictable. Just as an athlete trains his muscles through constant exposure to resistance, the Stoic trains his character through constant exposure to life's discomforts. Without practice, there is no growth. Without discomfort, there is no strengthening. Modern culture in many ways cultivates escape. We flee from pain, from responsibility, from uncertainty, but every escape weakens the soul. Each dodge makes the being smaller. The Stoic, on the contrary, faces. He does not seek suffering out of vanity, but he does not run away from it out of cowardice. When a challenge arises, the Stoic sees it as a training camp. Every difficult situation is an opportunity to practice courage in the face of fear, practice patience in the face of provocation, practice wisdom in the face of confusion, practice humility in the face of defeat. Each difficult moment is another chance to polish the soul until it shines with the light of virtue. Marco Aurelio wrote, "The stone that blocks the path becomes the path." This metaphor is central to the Stoic spirit. The obstacle is not something to be lamented. The obstacle is the path to transformation itself. Just as the sculptor sees in the block of raw marble the potential of a magnificent statue, the Stoic sees in each difficulty the opportunity to reveal his best version. Frustrations, losses, humiliations, failures, all of these, far from being a sign of bad luck, are tools in the hand of life to sculpt a great spirit. Seneca advised his disciples to imagine themselves as soldiers on campaign, always ready for the next battle. Not a soldier desperate for peace at any cost, but an inner warrior who understands that life is made up of cycles of struggle and rest, and that true victory is maintaining honor in both. Daily discipline is essential. See each difficulty as training and not as an injustice. Accept that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Persist even when the initial enthusiasm fades. Keep your mind steady even when your body calls for rest. Character is like a muscle. Either he is exercised or he atrophies. Life will not become easier, but you can become stronger. This is the Stoic promise. Freedom is not about shaping the world to your will, but about shaping yourself so that no world, whatever it may be, can break you. The Stoic is dedicated to the art of growing in the face of challenge. He understands that greatness is not a gift, it is an achievement. It is the result of years of silent, internal, constant work. Don't ask for a life without difficulties. Ask for the strength needed to overcome any difficulty. Because no end, the only true tragedy is not pain. It's a waste of pain. Turn every wound into a window into the light. Transform each fall into another step towards your ascension. And remember, you are not here for a comfortable life. You are here to become unbreakable. Along this path, we saw three principles that the ancient Stoics considered essential to live with serenity and strength in the face of life. Master your perceptions, because it is not the events that disturb you, but the judgment you make of them. Accept what you can't control, because resisting the inevitable is like fighting the wind, a futile effort that only fuels the pain. Grow to overcome challenges, because true freedom is not in eliminating obstacles, but in becoming greater than them. These are not concepts to be understood intellectually. These are practices to be lived. Because Stoicism is not a salon philosophy, it is a combat philosophy, forged in the heat of difficult days, in early mornings when the mind falters, in silent choices that no one sees. Master your mind. Accept the flow of life. Strengthen your soul. This is the path that transforms an ordinary human being into an unshakable fortress, Marcus Aurelius, at the height of his power as emperor, still reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Today, just like yesterday, the choice is yours. You can continue to be a slave to events, a victim of circumstances, a hostage to emotions. Or you can take the more difficult and more glorious path of becoming sovereign over yourself. The world will continue to spin with your majestic indifference. Chaos will continue to spread on the streets and in unsuspecting hearts. But in the center of this storm, there may be a calm mind, a steadfast soul, an invincible spirit, yours. Don't fight the world. Don't run away from the world. Rise above it. And always remember, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance steady and serene in the rain.